Hey guys, thank you for watching the Slat Rock channel, and don't forget to check out our previous video, Top 10 Wrestlers WWE Once Considered to be Part of Famous Wrestling Stables. The wrestling world has had some heartbreaking stories, with wrestlers' lives spiraling out of control and ending in their death by suicide. Here are 15 wrestlers who tragically took their own lives. Number 15. Eddie Graham. Edward Gossett took the name of Eddie Graham, becoming the kayfabe brother of Dr. Jerry Graham and enjoying a storied career as a wrestler in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, as well as one of wrestling's greatest promoters. Graham ran Championship Wrestling from Florida and was known as one of the wrestling world's greatest bookers. He maintained a close friendship with promoter Vince McMahon Sr., often exchanging talent with the WWF in the 1970s. Unfortunately, facing financial problems and relationship problems, Graham shot himself in the head on October 18, 2012, ending his life. Number 14. Andre Baker. Andre "Sledgehammer" Baker was a big fish in a small pond, achieving success in NWA Hammerlock, a United Kingdom promotion he ran for over 15 years. Baker brought in stars such as Jake the Snake Roberts, Tatanka, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, supplementing a promotion known for revolutionizing the way wrestling was promoted in the UK. NWA Hammerlock ran a wrestling school credited with producing stars such as Finn Balor and Wade Barrett, proving Baker's many talents in and out of the ring. In 2010, Baker ended his life at 45, and little is known of the reasons behind his suicide. Number 13. Tojo Yamamoto. A legend in Southern wrestling, particularly in Memphis wrestling, Harold Watanabe capitalized on post-World War II resentment towards Japan, portraying wrestling villain Tojo Yamamoto to great success. The Hawaiian native easily portrayed a Japanese heel, much as the Hawaiian native Mr. Fuji did, and later would train wrestlers Tommy Rich and Bobby Eaton. As health problems began to take their toll, Yamamoto ended his life in 1992. He died in Hermitage, Tennessee of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Although he was only 65 years old, some believe he chose to end his life rather than suffer from the complications of his health problems. 12. Adam Firestorm. Adam Dykes worked in the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada as El Antorcha, then Adam Firestorm. Dykes, a New Zealand native, was involved behind the scenes as well as in the ring. As Firestorm, he was well known in Extreme Canadian Championship Wrestling, and he operated Adam Firestorm Productions, which developed websites and produced television. On November 5, 2009, Dykes took his own life, with colleagues suspecting concussions and CTE may have played a role in his death. Number 11. Chris Kanyon. After being repackaged as Mortis, Chris Kanyon established himself as a rising star in WCW, eventually abandoning the Mortis gimmick and becoming Chris Kanyon, a star who would hold the WCW Tag Team Championship 2 times, once with Diamond Dallas Page and the other with Bam Bam Bigelow. Kanyon worked in the WWF during the Invasion angle and continued working in the company, despite reports of his being bullied backstage. Kanyon was released in 2004, retiring from wrestling in 2007. On April 2, 2010, his brother Ken Kluxeritis found him dead in his Sunnyside, Queens, New York apartment with an empty bottle of antidepressants. He left behind a note of apology for his family. His death was acknowledged by the WWE. Those close to Kanyon believe his bipolar disorder and closeted life as a gay man may have led to his suicide. Number 10. Mike Von Erich. One of the legendary Von Erich brothers, Mike Von Erich found his career sidelined when he unexpectedly caught toxic shock syndrome, nearly dying and suffering from brain damage. Mike Von Erich was never the same in or out of the ring. A few days before his death, Mike was arrested on drunk driving and drug possession charges. On April 12, 1987, he left a suicide note for his family, then went to Louisville Lake, where he drank alcohol and overdosed on the sleeping aid Placidil. His body was found 4 days later and buried at Grove Hill Memorial Park in Dallas. Number 9. Mike Graham. Eddie Graham's son worked in his father's Championship Wrestling from Florida promotion, operating the territory following his father's demise until he sold the struggling promotion to Jim Crockett Promotions. Graham later worked in WCW, largely behind the scenes, both as a trainer at the WCW power plant and as a road agent. Graham occasionally appeared on WWE DVDs and its Legends of Wrestling program. In a move shockingly reminiscent of his father, Mike Graham ended his life with a gunshot to the head at his residence in Daytona Beach, Florida. Number 8. Mike Awesome. After establishing his credentials as a talented big man in Japan's frontier martial arts wrestling, unfortunately Mike fell into the hands of awful writers and is now infamously remembered as that 70s guy or the guy from The Fat Chick Thriller. After WCW folded, Awesome's career never seemed to recover, and he wandered from WWE, TNA, and Japan until retiring in 2006. Sadly, the events surrounding Mike's death have largely overshadowed his career in the squared circle. According to the Tampa police, Mike Awesome, aka Michael Alfonso, got into a heated dispute with his wife after she said she wanted a divorce. He was reported to have grabbed her by the throat and to have slammed her into a wall. Fearing for her life, his wife called the police, and Alfonso was arrested and charged with domestic abuse. While he was in the jail, his wife visited him and told him that she was going through with the divorce and taking their 2 children. After Mike Awesome was released from jail, he returned to his home in Tampa, Florida. At some point soon after, he hung himself, most likely because he was facing criminal charges and had lost his family. It's also possible that he did not find the career in real estate that he launched after his retirement to be satisfying. Mike's body was discovered by a group of friends on February 17, 2007. He had turned 42 just a month before his death. Number 7. Crash Holly. Mike Lockwood entertained WWF fans as Crash Holly, the lightweight lad who fancied himself as a super heavyweight and provided comic relief as Hardcore Holly's storyline cousin. Holly enjoyed a 4-year run in the WWF, holding the WWF Tag Team Championship with his cousin and the Hardcore Championship an impressive 22 times. After his WWE release, Lockwood worked in TNA, but plagued by personal problems, Lockwood overdosed on pills and alcohol, dying while staying at Stevie Richards' home. Lockwood died on November 3, 2003, at the age of 32. Number 6. Sean O'Haire. The talented Sean O'Haire seemed to be on his way to success, first working in WCW as a 3-time WCW Tag Team Champion, then working the WWF's Invasion angle, and finally being partnered with Rowdy Roddy Piper as Piper's protege. However, when the WWE fired Piper and O'Haire suffered a motorcycle accident, his WWE career sputtered and he was released. O'Haire worked in New Japan Pro Wrestling before shifting gears to kickboxing and MMA. On September 9, 2014, Sean O'Haire was discovered dead in his Spartanburg, South Carolina home by his father. He had hung himself from a bedpost. The news was broken via Twitter by WCW alum Scotty Riggs. Number 5. The Renegade. Indie wrestler Richard Wilson received the push of a lifetime in 1995 when WCW brought him into the company as Hulk Hogan's ultimate surprise, teasing the Ultimate Warrior was going to join the Hulkster. Instead, WCW presented Wilson as the Renegade, a muscle man who looked eerily reminiscent of the Ultimate Warrior, complete with face paint and warrior-esque music. Wilson got a big push initially, winning the WCW television title, but when the real Ultimate Warrior spoke out, proclaiming Wilson a fake, the game was over, and WCW quickly pushed Wilson down the card. In 1998, WCW and Wilson went their separate ways. On February 23, 1999, severely depressed about his release from his WCW contract, Wilson died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He was 33 years old. Number 4. Ludwig Borga. Tony Helm enjoyed a significant push in the WWF, becoming the first wrestler to pin Tatanka, and later working a feud with Lex Luger. Ludwig Borga's career didn't live up to the hype, but he found work in Japan and Europe before pursuing an MMA career. Helm tried his hands at many things: author, singer, actor, and politician. Helm was even elected to Finland's parliament in 2003. Regrettably, drug and alcohol problems led to health problems including pancreatic and cirrhosis of the liver. Helm also battled mental illness and ultimately took his own life in January 2010 by self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was 47. Number 3. Yukon Eric. Canada's Eric Holmback was a top star during the Territory era, working several promotions but focusing his career in Ontario, Canada. Yukon Eric became famous when he lost part of his ear during a match against Killer Kowalski. Kowalski accidentally knocked off Erich's heavily cauliflowered ear with a knee drop. And for his involvement in Canada's first Canadian wrestling match, Holmback found his later years troubled by divorce and financial problems. After divorcing his wife and suffering financial problems, on January 16, 1965, Holmback drove to the church in Catersville, Georgia, where he had gotten married, and committed suicide by shooting himself in the mouth with a .22 caliber pistol. He was reported missing when he failed to show for matches in Jacksonville, Florida and St. Petersburg, Florida. His body was found the next day in his car in the church parking lot. Number 2. Larry Sweeney. Larry Sweeney was seen as a wrestler who would have fit in perfectly during the territory days, with sweet and sour Larry Sweeney having the look, mannerisms, and ring work reminiscent of 1980s talent. Sadly, Sweeney struggled to find breakout success from his debut in 2004, despite runs in Ring of Honor and Chikara. In 2011, Sweeney took his life, reportedly hanging himself using a turnbuckle post in Lake Charles, Louisiana wrestling school. He was found by his parents and his 2 siblings. Number 1. Kerry Von Erich. Texas's beloved modern-day warrior seemed to have it all: the adoration of his fans and a run as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion early in his career. Behind the scenes, Kerry Von Erich battled personal demons, leading to one problem after another, including a horrific motorcycle accident which eventually led to him having a prosthetic foot. After his career wavered back and forth, Kerry seemed to be back on track, winning the Intercontinental Championship in the WWF as the Texas Tornado. Von Erich's troubles with addiction would continue through the rest of his life. In September 1992, he was convicted for drug possession. He was sentenced to 10 years of probation. Then, in February 1993, he was indicted on cocaine charges. A warrant was issued for his arrest, with prosecutors planning to send him to prison. Kerry's marriage had also fallen apart shortly prior. The loss of his family and the threat of prison apparently proved too much for Kerry. On February 18, 1993, he went for a walk on the grounds of his father's ranch and shot himself in the chest with a handgun, just as his brother Chris had done before him. The realities of suicide face people every day, but there is help available. We chose these stories not to sensationalize them, but to warn fans that suicide does not discriminate. If you or someone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts, please get help. Well guys, that's our list, and a rather grim one at that. If there are any that we missed, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel for more great wrestling videos. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified every time we post a new video. And as always, thanks for watching.